The alien market smelled like dust, oil, and old metal. The sky above was gray. Cold rain tapped on the rusty metal roof. Crowds moved slowly between stalls, looking for cheap things, tools, food, or slaves. In the back corner, a tired old trader shouted at the crowd. He stood on a small metal box with a young alien girl chained at his feet. "She's worthless," he yelled. "Won't work, won't speak, just stares at walls. Just take her. I'll throw her in for free with your next." Deal. No one came closer. The girl was thin, dirty, and shaking. Her skin was pale blue, and her big black eyes looked down, never up. She was barefoot. Her dress was torn and didn't fit her properly. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. "Come on," the trader growled. "Look at her. She might be broken, but she's still alive. At least use her to clean your floors." Someone laughed. "She's not even good for that." Another voice joined in. "Maybe feed her to my pet." More laughter followed. The girl didn't react. She stood still like a broken statue. Not even her ears twitched. Then a new sound entered the market. The soft clink of boots stepping on metal. A human man walked into the crowd. He wore a long brown coat, soaked with rain, and his face was hard to read. Quiet, serious. People moved aside. Humans were rare here. Not many traveled to this dirty border world. And when they did, they didn't come to slave markets. The man stopped in front of the trader. He looked down at the girl. The trader grinned. "Hey, you want her? You can take her, no charge. I'm tired of feeding her." The human didn't speak. "She doesn't talk," the trader said. "Doesn't fight. Doesn't cry. I think she's simple in the head." Still no answer. The man reached into his coat and pulled out a single silver coin. He dropped it into the trader's hand. The trader blinked. You're paying for her?" The man crouched down. He looked into the girl's eyes. Her lips trembled. She looked up at him for only a second, then quickly down again. "You don't need to be afraid," the man said softly. His voice was deep, calm, and steady. The first kind words she'd heard in a long time. The trader laughed. "Suit yourself, human. She's all yours." Huh, he paid for garbage. As the man stood, he pulled off his coat and gently wrapped it around the girl's thin body. She flinched at the touch but didn't move away. The coat was warm, dry. It smelled like leather and wind. The crowd watched, confused. Why would a human want that thing? Someone whispered, "Maybe he's lonely, or maybe he's just crazy." The man didn't care. He picked up the chain and broke the lock with a tool from his belt. Then he tossed the chain away. The girl stared at the broken chain, her eyes wide. She didn't speak. She didn't know what to think. Was this real? Was this a new kind of trap? "Come," the man said gently. She took a slow step forward, still holding the coat around her. Another step. Then another. The crowd moved aside again as the man led her through the market. Some shouted jokes. Others laughed. But he said nothing and never looked back. As they left the market, the girl looked up at the gray sky. She opened her mouth slightly but said no words. Rain touched her face and she closed her eyes. The wind was cold, but the coat was warm. They walked through the dirty town, past old machines and broken signs. No one stopped them. Finally, they reached a small house made of metal and stone. The man opened the door. Inside it was quiet and clean. Not rich, not fancy, but safe. He pointed to a soft bed in the corner. "You can rest there," he said. "There's food in the next room." The girl didn't move. She stood in the doorway, eyes full of fear and confusion. "I won't hurt you," he said again. "You're safe now." Slowly, she stepped inside. The door closed behind her with a quiet click, and for the first time in a long, long time, she felt something strange. Hope. She didn't sleep at first. She sat on the edge of the soft bed, the human's coat still wrapped tightly around her. Her eyes stayed on the closed door like it might suddenly fly open. The room was too quiet, too clean, too warm. It felt wrong. Kindness was always a trap in her world. So she waited for him to return, to yell, to demand something. That's how it always started, fake comfort, followed by pain. She hugged her knees and stared at the floor. But hours passed. Nothing happened. The silence grew heavy. Her stomach growled so loud it startled her. She hadn't eaten in how many days? She'd stopped counting. She stood slowly and walked to the next room. Her bare feet touched the clean metal floor. The lights were soft, not bright, not harsh. On the table, under a heat lamp, was a bowl of warm soup. Beside it, soft bread. She froze. Was it for her? Her hands shook as she reached for the bowl. She sniffed it. No strange smell. Still hot. Was this a trick? Her belly didn't care. She took a small sip, then a big one. Then she was eating fast, desperate, both hands holding the bowl like it would vanish. She ate until it was gone. She licked the spoon. She ate the bread like it was gold. And still, no one came to stop her. No slap, no voice telling her to wait for permission. Just silence. She slid down the wall and sat on the floor, staring at the empty bowl in her hands. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't cry. Not yet, but something inside her cracked. Later that night, the human returned. He stepped inside quietly, not even looking surprised to see her awake. "You ate," he said softly. "That's good." She looked at him, unsure what to say. He walked over to a corner and placed a soft folded blanket on the bed. "This is yours." Still, she said nothing. Then he did something strange. He turned his back and walked away. No questions, no commands. He entered another room and closed the door. She blinked. That was it? He wasn't going to watch her sleep, chain her, use her? No one had ever done that before. Her mind spun with confusion. Hours later, she lay on the bed, but sleep did not come. Her fingers clutched the coat. The blanket was soft, too soft. She didn't trust it. Finally, unable to stop herself, she got up and searched the room. There, a small kitchen knife on the counter. She took it. Not to use it on him. Not yet, just to feel safer. She slid it under the pillow and lay back down. She stared at the ceiling until her eyes finally closed. And in her dreams, she saw something strange, a star, a real one, bright, warm, beautiful. The next morning, she woke up to light from the small window. Warm sunlight touched her face. She sat up quickly, heart racing. She checked the door. Still locked from the inside. Then she checked the knife, still there. Nothing had changed. She slowly stood and walked to the mirror across the room. She hadn't seen her own face in a long time. What she saw made her flinch. A skinny girl with pale skin, hollow cheeks, tangled white-blue hair, and a mark across her collar from the slave collar she once wore. But there was something else, too. Something new. A flicker of color in her eyes. Not fear, not pain, just a question. That day, she didn't run. She stayed. But not because she trusted him. No, she stayed because for the first time, she wanted to understand something. Why was this human being kind to her when everyone else saw her as nothing? The stars always looked better when you were running. That's what she told herself as her bare feet pounded the dirt road under a midnight sky. The human's coat slipped from her shoulders, but she didn't stop. Not even to breathe. She had to escape before he changed. Kindness never lasted. It always turned sharp. So when he stepped out for supplies and left the door unlocked, she ran. No chains, no alarms. Just silence behind her and cold wind ahead. The wind slapped her face as she passed the sleeping town. Nobody saw her. Good. She didn't want anyone to stop her. She didn't even know where she was going, just away. Away from soft beds. Away from warm food. Away from gentle voices that would turn cruel. She ran until her lungs ached. An hour passed. Then two. The cold bit deep now. Her legs shook. Her breath came out in clouds. She found a broken cargo container near a dead power station. Rusty, dry, and empty. She crawled inside and curled up in a corner. She hugged her knees and waited for the cold to take her. It would be easier that way. No more waiting for the pain. No more wondering if his kindness was fake. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, in a language only her people once spoke. She didn't even know the words anymore. She just didn't want to feel alone when she died, but the cold didn't take her. A quiet clunk woke her up. Footsteps. Slow, calm, not angry, not fast. Then, silence. She opened her eyes. A tall shadow stood at the door of the container. Her heart stopped. It was him, the human. His coat was wet with rain, his face unreadable in the moonlight. He had followed her, but not with weapons, not with force. Just ... With his presence. She backed into the corner. "Go away," she whispered. He didn't move. "I don't want to go back." Still silent. "Why? Are you here? Why did you follow me?" He crouched slowly. Then, with one hand, he placed something on the floor between them. A small meal. Hot soup, fresh bread, and a cup of water. Then he stood. No words. He turned to walk away. She blinked, confused. "What are you doing?" she called. He paused at the door, his voice low and steady. "You can stay here if you want, or come back. You are free. I just didn't want you to be cold. Or hungry." Then he walked away. No threat. No anger. No chains. Just footsteps fading into the night. She sat there for a long time, staring at the soup. It was still warm. She picked it up slowly, hands trembling. One sip, then another, and the tears finally came. Not because she was hurt, but because he didn't chase her. Because he let her choose, and in that moment, her world broke apart and rebuilt itself. Asterisk. She didn't mean for him to see. It was an accident. The sleeves of her new shirt were too short. She had rolled them up while washing dishes. For just a moment, the soft light in the room touched her arms and revealed the truth written across her skin. Scars. Not small ones. Deep, twisting, ugly. Some were burns. Others were straight lines, cuts, made on purpose, again and again. Symbols of ownership, punishment, pain. The human had only walked in to ask if she wanted more tea, but when he saw her arms, he froze. She felt the shift in the room like a cold wave. He didn't gasp. He didn't speak. He just looked. His eyes weren't full of pity. They were full of rage. Not at her. At someone else. And that scared her more than anything. She yanked the sleeves down quickly. "Don't look at them," she said, voice shaking. But he didn't reply. He turned away like the sight of it had burned him, like it hurt him, more than it hurt her. And he walked out of the room. For hours he said nothing. He stayed quiet. She thought maybe she had broken something. Maybe he didn't want her here anymore. Maybe now that he saw her for what she really was, a used-up slave with ruined skin, he'd throw her out. She sat in the corner of the room, hugging her knees, waiting. But instead of anger, something else happened. That night, through the thin wall, she heard him speaking, not to her. To someone else. His voice was quiet, cold, and full of fury. "I want names. The traitor, his contacts, the buyers." She had marks burned into her skin. Who did it? "If I find out who hurt her, they won't walk away." She pressed her hand against the wall, her breath shaking. He was calling someone, searching for those who had hurt her. Not for revenge, not for justice, but for her. Later, she sat on the small couch. The lights were low. The human entered the room again and stood nearby. This time, he knelt beside her. Not close. "Just enough. I didn't mean to scare you," he said softly. "I saw the scars. I shouldn't have stared." She didn't answer. He waited. Then she spoke the truth she'd never told anyone. "They called me a mistake. I was born too weak. Not good for work, not good for breeding, so they used me for Practice, pain practice. She stared at the floor. Ashamed, they said I was trash, not even worth a collar. The human's voice was quiet. They were wrong. She looked up slowly. Her lips moved, but no words came out. His next words felt like thunder in a soft whisper. You survived. All of that. That doesn't make you trash. That makes you stronger than any soldier I've ever known. She blinked fast. Her chest ached. She wanted to cry again, but the tears wouldn't come. She didn't cry this time, she just nodded. She followed him for hours that day, not with words, just with her eyes, every time he walked into the room. Her gaze found him when he made tea. She watched when he cleaned his tools. She watched when he sat alone on the porch, staring at the twin moons in the sky. She watched from behind the door, and finally, when he stood in the quiet hallway, about to head to bed, she stepped forward. Wait, she whispered. He turned. She looked nervous, her hands twisting in her sleeves. But this time she didn't. Hide her eyes. Why? She asked. His eyebrows lowered. Why? What? She swallowed hard. Why are you doing this? Her voice trembled. Why did you buy me? Feed me? Give me a bed, clothes, safety, and not ask for anything back? He didn't speak. So she said it again, louder this time. Why me? For a long moment he said nothing. Then quietly he stepped over to the shelf across the room. He picked up a small, worn photo. He stared at it for a moment, then handed it to her. She looked. It was a picture of a little alien girl. Not her, but someone like her. Soft blue skin, big dark eyes, young, smiling. She was my daughter, the man said. The girl froze. She was taken during a raid. Slavers didn't know she was mine. They sold her off-world before I could find her. His voice grew quieter, each word heavier. Then the last. I searched for years. By the time I found the ship she had been on, it was already empty. She was gone. And I never got her back. He looked at her now, and in his eyes, she saw something she didn't expect. Not pain, not anger, but something deeper, guilt. I couldn't save her, he whispered. But maybe I can save someone else. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. I saw you in that market, he said, and you looked like her. Not just the face, the eyes, the emptiness. And I thought, if I walk away now, I'll never forgive myself. Tears burned her eyes. No one had ever chosen her. Not once. Not until him. I'm not her, she whispered. I know, he said softly. You're you. And that's enough. She held the photo to her chest. And this time, she cried. The knock came like thunder. 3 sharp bangs at the door. She dropped the cup she was holding. It shattered on the floor. The human was already moving, silent, fast, alert. He stepped in front of her without a word, eyes narrowed. His hand slipped toward the blaster hidden under the table. Another knock. Harder this time. Then a voice. One she hadn't heard in weeks, but would never forget. Open up, human. I know you've got my property. Her heart stopped. The slaver. The same cruel voice that used to order her to kneel, to crawl, to bleed. She backed up, her legs shaking. She grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. The old scars on her arms seemed to burn again, but the human didn't open the door. He looked at her instead. You don't have to face him, he said gently. She stared at him, chest rising fast. Then she stepped forward. No, she whispered. I do. He opened the door slowly. And there he was. Big, smug, dressed in dirty armor with a half-cracked helmet. The slaver's face twisted into a grin when he saw her. There you are, he said like he was greeting a lost pet. I've been looking everywhere for you, little thing. You wandered off like a bad dog. She said nothing. He turned to the human. Thanks for keeping her warm. Now hand her over, and I'll forget this little theft ever happened. Silence. Then the human said one word. No, the slaver blinked. No, he laughed. You don't own her, human. She's not yours. She's not yours either, the man replied calmly. Oh yeah? The slaver hissed. Let's ask. Her. He looked at her now. Come here, he ordered. Now. Her knees wobbled. The slaver's voice still held power over her bones. But then she looked at the man beside her. The one who gave her food, safety, a voice, and something inside her changed. She took a step, forward. Not toward the slaver, but past the human standing on her own. Her voice came out firm. Strong. I'm not your property. The slaver's grin disappeared. What did you say? I'm not your property, she repeated. I'm not a slave anymore. The slaver growled, reaching for the shock baton on his hip. But the human was faster. His blaster was out in a flash, aimed between the slaver's eyes. Touch her, and you won't leave this porch, he said coldly. For a few tense seconds, no one breathed. Then the slaver slowly lowered his hand. You'll regret this, he spat. You can't protect her forever. She doesn't need me to protect her, the human said. She's strong enough now. The slaver backed away, his pride more wounded than his body. As he disappeared into the shadows, the girl finally exhaled. Her hand still shook, but she wasn't afraid anymore. Not of him, not of anyone. She turned to the man. I didn't run this time. He nodded. No, you stood. And for the first time, she smiled. Asterisk, she wasn't used to mornings like this. Warm sunlight, quiet air, the smell of something cooking, and no chains on her wrists. She stood by the window, watching the wind blow gently through the trees. Her reflection in the glass looked different now. Not just cleaner. Alive. Her hair was brushed. Her face had color, and her eyes no longer looked like a prisoner's. Behind her, the human man was packing a bag. Carefully, quietly, like he didn't want to wake a sleeping dream. But she was wide awake. Where are you going? She asked. He looked at her with calm eyes. I got a message, he said. Someone found a lead on a slaver network nearby. I'm going to follow it. She felt her chest tighten. You're leaving? He nodded. For a while, just a few days. You'll be safe here. Her hands curled around the windowsill. What if you don't come back? He smiled softly. I always come back. She looked down. Do you want me to stay? He asked. She hesitated. Then, slowly, she turned to face him. I don't want to be a burden, she said quietly. He stepped closer, his voice low and steady. You were never a burden. She looked up at him. I was nothing, she whispered, broken, scared, worthless. No, he said, shaking his head. You were never worthless. You just needed someone to see you. A tear slipped down her cheek. He wiped it gently with his thumb. You don't belong in a cage, he said. You belong where you're free. She nodded. And then, with a quiet voice, she asked, Can I come with you? He looked surprised. You want to? I don't want to wait anymore, she said. I don't want to be left behind. I want to walk beside you. Not as a slave, not as a pet, but as someone who chooses. Later, as the sun rose higher, the two of them walked side by side toward the distant hills, where the slaver ships once flew and justice still waited. She carried her own pack. He carried his. And between them was not fear, not silence, not chains, but something new, something strong, something like family, maybe even love.